think ever since your book came out last October, I have anecdotal evidence that it has become a consensus in the market when I watch the finance news media, that everybody seems to agree that we are really in the late stage of the cycle. And so that, before that, I think I always can hear some people comment, oh, we are early, we are in the middle, but seems right now everybody really is convinced that we are late in the cycle. So that brings me two questions. I mean, if everybody is convinced that we are late in the cycle, wouldn't that awareness of the lateness of the cycle kind of prolong this cycle and make the anticipation of the cycle more challenging? And the second related question is, if this is really true that everybody is kind of cautious, wouldn't that make when the cycle really turns, would that make the market reaction more benign, let's say, versus the last time around? Thank you.
Well, thank you. I said one question. I didn't say two. But anyway, the answer is that if everybody holds a point of view, by definition, it's baked into prices. So if you agree with that point of view, it's not going to make you any money, even if it's right. The goal in investing with regard to understanding the environment or even the future is not to be right. The goal is to be more right than others. And correct forecasts, which are commonly held, don't make anybody any money. So if everybody is now cautious, that's a favorable sign, because that means that expectations are low. And if things come in, if you are more optimistic than the consensus and things come in better than the consensus expects, then you will make money. Of course, the problem is that usually the consensus is about right. So correct idiosyncratic forecasts are potentially profitable but rarely correct. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I don't spend a lot of time making forecasts. But I will say one thing about the people and the consensus that we're in the late stages. You'll recall that in December of 17, the government passed a tax bill. And people got very excited. The stock market did very well. And everybody thought that it would be very salutary for the economy. And I started to get emails from people, because we were in the 10th year of economic, at that time we were in the 9th year. And there's never been an economic recovery in the United States that went more than 10 years. And so most people were kind of getting a little cautious about late stages. And then I started, after the tax bill was passed, I started to get emails from people saying things like, Australia has not had a recession for 26 years. And since this is the 9th year, maybe we're going to go 17 more years without a recession, which in my opinion is another form of saying this time it's different, which is the 4 worst words in the world. Anyway, so all these people started to think, well, maybe we're not going to have a recession, maybe we'll never have a recession, maybe it's not going to come for 17 years or 5 years or 10 or whatever it might be. And then, of course, the market proceeded to do very well based on that optimism. And the trouble was that in the 4th quarter, all the people who said no recession for 17 years said next week. And that's why the economy, the market did so badly in the 4th quarter. So the point is, as I say, forecasts swing much more radically than reality swings, and it's desirable. So that leads us to the issue of being a contrarian. And it's important to be a contrarian, except that it's not always the right thing to do. And there are a lot of people who say, oh, contrarian. Well, what contrarian means is you do the opposite of others. No. To be an intelligent contrarian, you have to know what others are doing, know why they're doing it, know what's wrong with what they're doing, and then figure out if there's appropriate action to be taken on that. In my first book, The Most Important Thing, had a second edition called the Illuminated Edition, in which some notable investors and I added commentary to the first edition and told people what they should think about what they had just read. And Joel Greenblatt, who was a great equity investor, one of the greatest, who nobody has ever heard of, although he has some books out called The Little Book That Will Make You a Market Genius or something like that. Very good books, and they have the merit of being short. Joel put in on the section on contrarianism, just because 5 other people will not stand in the path of an oncoming Mack truck doesn't mean you should. So contrarianism is not just a matter of doing the opposite of others, it's a matter of taking advantage of mistakes, and it has to be done on an understanding. And I hope that helps. Thank you for having me today. It's been great being here.